Your grandparents or your great-grandparents probably bought a house for £1,000 or $1,000 and a bag of peanuts. Now, unlike your grandparents, your parents would have had more of a tougher time than your grandparents, but you still somehow managed. But today's world, young people cannot afford housing anymore. Imagine doing everything you're told when you're from little to where you are now. Imagine doing everything you were told to do. You studied hard, you got a job, you started saving up money, maybe cut some vacations, avoided buying expensive things, cutting on takeaways. Yet somehow, despite doing everything, it still feels impossible to own a home. Even just a few decades ago, people could buy their house in their 20s, maybe in their 30s, but people can barely manage it today. So what do you think happened? Did we just become very bad with money? No, we didn't. We didn't become bad with money. Is it us? Or has the house market made it so the home ownership is much harder than it used to be? In this video, I'll break down some exact points of why young people cannot afford housing anymore. Okay, one of the biggest reasons, and the first reason, is surprisingly simple, right? The house rates went far and above our income rates. Housing prices have become much higher than our wages they used to. Back in the day, your wages used to be like this. Housing prices like this, just went up, just like this. But nowadays, your wages steadily increase just a little bit, but housing prices way up here. Imagine a house that cost maybe like 100,000 in the 80s or 90s. That'll cost you 700 to 800,000, maybe even $1 million. I know people are not going to sell you the house for cheap. They're going to upsell it again. They're going to sell it to the maximum profit. If your wage doubles but the house triples in value, even if you have a decent paying job, it's going to be hard to find a house and settle down. That's why a lot of young people are moving back to their parents' house to stay with them, to save up money and to actually put a deposit in and buy a house. What used to be an average home now is so much of a lifetime now. Another reason, the down payments. It might look simple, right? Just put a down payment. Imagine if the house is like $500,000 or £500,000. 20% of it is £100,000. You have to save up and put the money down. And for £100,000, you have to save up for several years, while keeping in mind the rent, food, every other thing that comes with being you alone. You can cut back on some rent if you live with your parents, but if you're not comfortable with that, you might not like your parents, you might not have any. It's going to make it even more harder to buy a house, to save up, to even put a deposit in. This is one of the most frustrating part. Even while you're saving, it's going to increase more. So what do you do then? It's like going up a ladder, but it just keeps on moving, man. Another one of the reasons is rents are increasing so much. If you want to get a good paying job, or if you want to get a job that's easily available to you, you want to go to a city, right? If you live in the countryside, it's going to be hard to find a job, but the rent will be cheaper. But if you go to a city, a job might be easier, but the rent is so much higher. Where you want to save up for your house, you want to save up for your deposit. If its rent is so much, and with all the bills, all the things, you're going to be left with so little. And it's going to take so long just to save up money, just to buy a house. Today, a lot of us are paying 30, 40, 50, 60% of our income just for rent. And imagine the bills. If I have a family, you have someone to take care of. Imagine all that. And other reasons, student debts and expenses and loans. You might have taken on some loans to clear out something you might need for some emergency things. Or if you're a student and you go right out of university, you're going to have student loans. You're going to have to pay it back. You're going to have to pay interest on it. If you're living in the UK, you're going to have to pay health insurance. If you live in anywhere, you're going to have to pay insurance, water bill, electricity bill, all them bills. Another reason, there are not enough homes. Another important reason is supply, right? There are not enough houses being built to supply people with housing. So when there's not enough houses for people to buy it, demand increases. So the price also increases. So even nowadays, if they build new houses, imagine if they build like 30 houses, 40, 50, 60 houses in an area, and people can't afford to buy it. Say if they sell 30 houses, big corporation will just buy those rest of the houses and just rent them out to make their money back. And then you're going to have to rent the house, lose your money on rent, and then the cycle repeats again. That's also one of the reasons, by the way. You're not just competing against other people, right? You're competing against big corporations. They're hunting down houses. They will pay double, triple of what you have just to buy the house, and they can rent it out forever. We can never stay in competition with them because it's so predatory. We can barely afford rent. How are we going to compete with big real estate agent Mongols and then big corporations? Another one of the reasons is interest rates also spiked high, right? If you're lucky if you manage to get a low interest rate on your mortgage. If not, it's going to be very high. As the mortgage increases, your interest rate is also going to increase. And if it's a high interest rate, your monthly payment for the mortgage is going to increase. And then if that increased but your pay stayed the same, it's going to be harder for you to pay the bills, take care of your family, and enjoy the things that you want to do. Now, I don't want to discourage you. I'm not making this to be really negative. I'm just saying what it is. It's not impossible to get a house. So stay positive, work hard, and everyone says that. Work hard, and hopefully we will own a house someday. And subscribe if you like the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.